Please note, some of the guards have been removed from some of the machinery during the filming of this video. This was done for video purposes only. Work with all guards in place on your machinery. And remember to work safe. Thank you for watching. Okay, now we're going to finish cutting the bevel on the end of the shell. Once this is done, we're going to flip the shell around and it's going to lock into the faceplate and make it safe for turning the inside of the shell, because we know that the shell won't come out of the groove. Using a bowl gouge, swept back flanges. Cutting a slight bevel. And once that's done, we'll take the shell off and remount it with the beveled end against the faceplate, and it will lock into place so the shell won't move. Now, this is a good system for turning the inside and being very safe. That's going to lock into position. Just take a closer look at that. And you'll be able to see how it's locked into the faceplate. Now that's not going to move. So I still have more to take off the outside. Now you can skip this step if you like. I like doing it this way just to make it a little safer. And I know that that shell isn't going to come out when I'm laving the inside out. So I'm going to remount the shell between centers, and then I'm going to check the size again, just so I'm sure where I'm at. And I'll check that all the way across just to make sure that the shell is coming out even. And I'm going to shear scrape the outside again. The bowl gouge with the swept back flanges. And I'm going to take a very fine shaving off of it. And it's going to leave a very clean cut surface, which will be ready for sanding. Take a bit off the edge there to get it even. Take a little bit more off. And we'll take a look at that surface and see what it looks like. Not quite flat. And you can see how clean cut that surface is. There's absolutely no tear out. Perfect surface. Now we're ready to mount and turn out the inside. So I have a bowl steady, which I mount, and the wheels run on the outside of the shell to dampen the vibration when I'm turning the inside. Very important. Checking everything, make sure it's clear. It's a homemade tool rest I use for turning the inside. Made it out of some galvanized fittings. So I'm going to use the bowl gouge with swept back flanges again. And use it flat. Take a very fine shaving off. Barely rubbing the bezel. And I'll make a couple of passes that way. You can feel it when you're taking the right amount off. Two passes that way, and I'll check the inside again to see what it looks like. And that still has more to come off. I'm going to switch positions with the bowl gouge now, and I'm going to shear scrape the inside the same way I did with the outside. And the bowl gouge is almost flipped upside down. I'm taking a very fine shaving off, and this will leave a very clean cut edge, very clean cut surface. And that's the important part. You can do the turning your own way, whatever skills you've developed, whatever tools you have, as long as it gets a clean cut surface is the most important thing. So by using the bowl gouge the way I am here, I get the results I'm looking for. And I got pretty good control over here too. So it feels good. Now I'm going to check to see if that's flat. Very important. So it's not quite flat. It's a little bit higher in the center, so I'm going to take a little bit thicker shaving off the center here. Try to get it even right across. Couple of passes. And then I'll check it again. See if it's flat. And that looks a lot better. And you can see how clean cut the surface is. Absolutely no tear out. It will still need to be sanded, but you need that clean cut surface to do the job properly. So I'm working down to a thickness that I'm looking for. Slightly over ½ inch. Because I still have more to pick off the outside. And the finished shell will be about ½ inch. Should be slightly under or slightly over. Let's take a nice shaving off. see how clean that surface is. Not a bit of tear out. Now I'm going to check the thickness to make sure it's consistent right across. And I find that I'm out a little bit, then I'll have to do a bit more turning to correct that. It's the same angle. Stave work is all about angles. The angle you hold the chisel to the work piece. Getting a very fine shading now. Getting closer to the point that I want to be at now. Check that again. You can see there's no tear out. So I'm happy with that. Another shell. Making the same cut. And I have to check each one for thickness. And once I've reached that thickness, double check it. I've got the thickness I want and I'm ready to sand. So I've made this special attachment for my lathe. So I'm going to sand with 100, 120, and then 150 grit to get the finish that I want on the inside. And after that will be orbital sanding for the final sanding. Check that surface, nice. It looks good. You don't want to sand too much. I'm going to check that again. I think it looks good. Take a closer look. Looks like a nicely sanded surface. That's going to do it for the inside. Now I'm going to go back and do more turning on the outside. Between centers. Help with vibration problems. Then you can see how nicely sanded the inside of the shell is. And that's ready for orbital sanding now. Now I'm going to mount the other end on so I can turn between centers again. And I have just a tiny bit to take off the outside. And then the turning will be done at that point. You can see the line on the shell where the wheels from the bowl steady rubbing on it. So this is the reason I left a bit of turning to do on the outside, just to clean it up. I'm not taking much off. It'll take more than that. But that'll get rid of the line. And I'll keep taking light shavings. It's a nice fine cut. And it's easy to learn how to do it too. So I'm going to check and see how flat that is. Guess I'm going to do a little more. Got a little high spot in the center I'm going to take out. Take a little more in the center. A couple of high spots. I want that surface to be perfectly flat. And I'll double check the size on it. (13 7/8). Check another one. And I check that against the tape measure. And I find I've got a good size there, so now I'm ready to sand the outside with another curved sanding block which I made. And it'll take a bit of sanding through the outside. It's a 100 grit. And I'll sand with a 100, 120, and 150 grit for the outside. Then it'll be ready for orbital sanding. And you don't want to over sand. And make sure that it's coming out even too. Keep double checking. See that it's okay. I have a few sanding blocks I made. It takes a bit of work to make them up, but you'll end up using them a lot. Just taking a close look at that surface. I'm going to double check that to make sure it's flat. A couple little spots there I don't like. And it's coming out pretty flat. Sanding with a finer grit now. Wear a dust mask when you're doing this type of work. And another grit. Just about done the sanding outside now. I'll have a look at that and see what I think. And that's looking really good. Nice quarter cut maple shell. And the final sanding. pretty nice on the outside now. No imperfections at all. And as you can see, it's a nice surface. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to remount the shell to cut the opposite end off. And make the shell the size that I want it. It's going to be a 6.5 inch. Once I mount it, I can put it between centers again, and I put a pencil line on there. And now I'm going to use my parting tool and cut in where the pencil line is. And I'm going to cut pretty much right through the shell. I can go by the sound. I can tell when it's really thin inside. Then I'll know that it's gone far enough. You can also measure it. Different angle, same cut. Take some fine shavings off. Getting pretty close there. I've got another shell I'm going to cut. I've got a pencil line on it. I'm making a 5-inch shell of this one. So there's going to be a bit of waste off of this one, but I need that 5-inch shell. And I'll just keep cutting until I can hear the wood getting very thin. I don't know that is close to the end. Pretty much there now. When I've cut far enough in, I'll just take the end plate off. And the piece will pretty much fall off. So that came out good. Now I'm going to cut the end grain again so that I have a clean cut end grain. I have to score the inside first and then cut from the outside in to get that clean cut surface. You can only get this way. Just take your time with this cut. I don't have to check that and see if it's flat. And it's not quite flat, so I'm going to cut it again. And that's pretty much it for this tape. That'll be it for the wood turning part. That looks flat now. That shell's done. See you next time.